87K BTC. Has Uncle Donald got something else in store for us now with the new tariffs and the new trade war? So today, guys, we're looking at the impact on the markets with regards to this current Trump situation. Is it going to get worse? Is the pain only beginning now? So we're going to break down BTC. We've got tons of altcoins as well for you guys. I've got longs, I've got shorts, I've got the whole story. Let's get right into this. And today I've actually got a special guest. I brought in DJ and Dave one day early. You know, he likes to join me on a Friday, but I've got the day off tomorrow. I'm going to be sitting on a boat somewhere in the Indian Ocean, but Dave is in the house. He's bringing us along. I believe he might have something else that he's busy trying to set up at the moment. So that is coming in hot. James is in the house. Hello, sir. The tinfoil hat must come out. I want James to help us with a little bit of this tariff news. We're going to be talking about that just now. I see Yumi is in the house. Good morning from New Zealand. Okay, well, hopefully I'm wearing the correct New Zealand colors there for Yumi. Okay, let's go. Banter bubbles. Celestia, shitcoin 7% up. Not looking at that thing. Not going to lie. NTGL 7% up. Still not looking at that thing just yet. But we've got TON. That thing has finally closed me out on my short. I'm so sick of sitting in that TON short. It's finally pushed me out. I've cut my short position on TON. That's 𝗬𝗰. What an absolute ripper yesterday. Hopefully some of you guys got some 𝗬𝗰. We are now at resistance. Is it short time for 𝗬𝗰? Is it take profit time? I'm going to show you my trade. I'm currently long. I'm currently short as well on 𝗬𝗰. So we're going to cover that for you. And then Maker and CRV just continually where they left off yesterday. Look at this Tower as well. That thing was an absolute banger off that level that I gave you guys yesterday as well. So we had a nice little mover there. And then Bearer Chain, unfortunately, missed an entry. We didn't drop down into the zone, and that thing is now absolutely ripped. So we're going to cover a lot of these tokens that you're looking at here today. And right now, well, let's just jump into BTC. So did we get a little bit excited just now? We got a short-term little pump in the markets there, and some of these alts started printing bullish divergence on the 1 hour, and it was looking like we may get some short-term moves. So that is now not off the table just yet. You can see what's going on with BTC on the 2 hour. We have had a little pop in the market. So now it's going to come down to BTC holding up these levels and slowly just grinding a little bit higher for now. So what I want to give you guys in terms of support, you can see our VWAP has come into play. Our VWAP from the 18th of March, that has come into play as support. So 85,750 down to 85K, guys. That is support level number 1. And this is still my semi-bullish support zone. This is the area where we can say, you know, a little mistake, little loss of trend, little mistake. Let's bounce back hard and then send this thing nice and bullish. But for me, my concern is if we drop into this 84K region, my concern here is this wedge that you are looking at starts coming into play. This is typically a bearish wedge. And what happens here? We drop into that region. Then any pumps after that are pretty bearish in my book. And that is probably the start of a big move lower down for BTC. Is that going to play into Trump's hands? Are the markets all going to collapse here? And is BTC just going to be some collateral damage there while things fall over? So my concerns here, 85K, we might be all right. 84K, I start leaning super bearish on the current situation. Then in terms of upside on the 2 hour, you can see we actually have a downtrend in play currently. So there's going to be a new level of resistance for you guys. That is going to be 87,600. That is the real degen resistance. Then in terms of bigger zones that I like, it's 89 to about 90K, guys. You can see I've got VWAPs here. I've got 50-day MA. I've got 382 fibs. I've got order blocks in this region. That is a massive area for me where I'm expecting some kind of rejection there. And Yumi says, I gave you guys a banger on 𝗵𝗆. There was a bounce. I've jumped. I closed my 𝗵𝗆 short. I've jumped into that 𝗵𝗆 scalp long here. Hopefully we are going to get a move on that, guy. So I've got that 𝗵𝗆 chart locked and loaded. Okay, so guys, that's the plan on BTC on the 2 hour. Those are the big zones that I would be watching in the next 24 hours. Now, if anything serious happens, I'll obviously try and update in hackers, and maybe we'll drop 1 or 2 tweets for you guys as well. But that is what I'm watching for right now, leading into this coming weekend. Now, let's take a look at some liquidations. Yeah, let's see where we are. So this thing is slightly creeping up a bit. $220 million in the last 24 hours of liquidation. consolidations, and we had a period of a couple of days where we only sitting around 100 million. So 220, it is starting to creep up. It's telling us the story. It's telling us that the traders are starting to get chopped up again, and it's getting a little bit expensive now if you're making mistakes or you're on the wrong side of these moves. So this thing came up, took me by surprise, but here it is. So this was great. This is the difference between meme coins and BTC. Like, which one, what would you tell your granny to buy? Would you tell your granny to buy the meme coin, and would you take that home with you, or were you just going to have fun with the meme coin, or are you going to tell your granny to buy BTC? That just looks reliable. It looks like a solid bet there. So I don't know, James, Dave, which one are you buying? Which one are you giving to your granny here?
Full motorboat. Gotta go with size.
Gotta go with the memes, man.
Okay, I'm a meme man. I'm a meme man as well. Okay, not gonna lie, but you can see Bitcoin is the solid bet. The meme coins are the shiny, fun things to play with. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the hard stuff, the one on the right, Bitcoin, I think that's gonna deliver. That's really gonna deliver for you guys. Okay, enough of that rubbish. Okay, let's talk breaking news. So US Q4 GDP hits 2.4%. Now look at this, signaling a strong economic growth. Okay, so Dusty Crypto says it's good for the crypto markets, should be good for all markets, but Meme Master says GDP numbers are good. So what do? You panic sell everything, because the market right now literally doesn't know how to respond to all of this information. We've got tariffs, we've got the trade wars, we've got everything going down, we get good GDP numbers, and there's a dump in the market. So again, nobody knows exactly what the next play is at the moment, and we really need to be reactive to all these things. Now, this was interesting, and we touched on this yesterday. We saw a picture of Michael Saylor, the big smile yesterday with the GME guy. But GameStop investor tells Fox it should buy $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin with cash. Now, he thinks GME is going to $100. This is a $13 billion hedge fund. He's screaming. Now, remember, GME is, this was the meme, basically the meme stock out there that the community pumped in 2020, 2021, and that really got the bull market running for us. And they basically become a bit of a meme. Now, these guys have said they're going to buy a couple of billion worth of BTC. So that is relatively bullish for GameStop. But I thought, let's take a look at their chart. They're getting absolutely rinsed here at the moment. So when they made that announcement, you can see from the lows, we've had a 38% pump on GME, and now after that, look at the sell-off here. The guys are getting absolutely rinsed. So that announcement, maybe it was just for some exit liquidity. I mean, who knows what their game plan is, but look at the speed of that sell on this GME. And quite interestingly, or not interestingly, but the meme GME, the meme coin, has actually outperformed. That thing pumped 100% to the upside, but I'm sure anybody buying the top of that meme is going to feel a little bit of pain there. So we're already 25% down. So guys, look, this GME thing never goes away. And I have told you guys before, this is something you might want to get whenever things are super low and the market goes really quiet. Maybe you want a piece of this GME meme coin at the lows, buy it low, and then you get these types of pumps along the way. So just a little note there. Whenever GME does something interesting in the real world, this meme coin can do a couple of things there for you guys. Now, let's talk about the news. Let's try and understand what is going on here. Why is Uncle Donald trying to wreck us again? And President Trump announces 25% tariffs on all cars not made in the United States. Okay, so that is obviously a little bit of an issue. Now, you might be thinking, well, they're making loads of cars in the US and everything is fine, but what about the parts in those cars? Isn't that going to be some kind of expense for us? And basically what we're looking at is about a $12,000 increase to the average new car sold, but not necessarily made in the US. Now, there's arguments, certain cars are manufactured in America, but what about the parts that are coming from all the different countries? Now, here's James.
Assembled in America, but all the parts come from China or elsewhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you pay. Pay.
It's a tax, a massive freaking tax.
So how's this good? I'm still struggling to see how this is a good thing.
I mean, the thought behind it is that it's going to bring manufacturing back to the US, but that would include having to build factories to build all of the parts. That infrastructure doesn't exist. It would take years to get that kind of infrastructure back. In the meantime, Americans have a 10 to 25% tax on their cars and everything else. Great long-term plan. Short-term, fucking wreckage.
But you're gonna need Trump to last like 2 terms here, and then a Republican to take over later on. You need like a 12-year plan for this thing to work, basically. Okay, so guys, it's a mess. Okay, the people aren't happy with the current situation, and we've got 𝗫𝗍𝗍 talking about the trade war being back. Markets are expecting Trump's April 2nd reciprocal tariffs day to be the end of uncertainty. Now, this is a debate James and I were actually having offline as well. He was saying, what's going to happen? And I said my dream scenario is actually a sell-off now into this April 2nd, and then maybe the market's going to see a little bit of certainty, and then we're going to start pumping again. Now, James doesn't seem to think so. And what is your view on this? Why is this an issue?
Well, the problem is, what's going to be the catalyst to buy back? Because if this comes in April 2nd, and he does come out with all of this crazy tariffs and whatever else, and the market panics and starts just selling like crazy, because, I mean, he's given mixed messages, which he's done since the get-go. Because yesterday he's going, oh, we're doing these 25% on autos, but I could be lenient on other tariffs. But then he comes back and says he's going to do the big 15, right? Canada, Mexico, whatever, the biggest trade partners, China. He's going to go really heavy on them. If this actually sticks and these tariffs stick, it's going to tank everything like crazy. And
so you don't think this is priced in? I mean, for me, I'm surely a part of this is about to get priced in leading into the 2nd of April.
Look at the huge swings, right? We get these massive swings here every time that there's an announcement. And the problem is no one knows, right? And that's what the 𝗘𝗍𝗍𝗍 letter was saying there, is that the uncertainty, everyone thinks, oh, on April 2nd, the uncertainty's over. It's just beginning. Because we have no idea what's going to happen.
There you go. I mean, I would love to see a sell-off into April 2nd. I'd love to see the S&P print a low there, or even just double bottom there at the end, then give us some kind of pump.
And that's possible. Maybe there is good news that comes out that he's like, okay, you know what, we're actually, because he knows he's got all these economists behind him and his entire team of really smart people, and they're like, you can't actually do this. If you put all of these in all at once, it's going to tank the world's economies, which is going to be bad for America.
Maybe more for around the world. Maybe the US economy might have priced some of that in. But here's another one. He's pulling off the gloves with the EU again. He says that if the EU works with Canada to economically harm the US, he will be implementing large-scale tariffs on them both. Okay, so he's really having a fight there at the moment. So things aren't looking as rosy and peachy as they were 2 or 3 days ago when everything was ripping. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 you guys a little thread about what you need to know about Trump's April 2nd tariff. So if you want to read a little bit up about what is going on, you want to get a bit more informed, you can follow this guy, 𝗷𝗍𝗄𝐻 Finance. He's given you a little write-up as to what is going on down there. So guys, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and explain economics and Trump trade wars to you all day. We here to trade shit coins. Okay, so there's some information for you. Miles dropped some interesting numbers. He says prices since Trump has taken office. Hong Kong stocks 17% up, Chinese stocks 3%, US down 4%, and BTC as expected down 15%. Okay, so Trump dump is fully in play. But remember, sometimes we need a little bit of pain first to enjoy the party later. Remember, the more it hurts now, the more fun it is later, because the more we appreciate it later on. So sometimes when you're in the midst of getting slapped around, it's not always the best feeling. But look, S&P still telling us downside. The S&P is telling us lower high in play, dead cat bounce, all sorts of things. And I actually saw a great tweet earlier today where somebody inverted this chart. I want to show you how cool this looks. Look at this. You invert the S&P and suddenly you have this beautiful bull flag here sitting on the 200-day moving average as support. What does that look like? Bang! That looks like a beautiful bull flag there with some kind of pumpage. Now we invert the S&P, we bring it back around, and that is super bearish for what we are looking at there. So if we believe that trading patterns and flags and things like that on charts plays out, well, statistically, you might find that this bear flag is going to play out, and we're going to start looking a little bit lower. So that is there, and the Shiba says the shit is full. What the fuck is he on about here? What is this man talking about?
Well, that's from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, right? Where Cousin Eddie blows up the neighborhood when he empties the shitter into the sewer.
Okay, lovely, bro, lovely. Appreciate that. And travel alert says they prefer black swans in the winter. Yeah, look, guys, we're teeing up for something messy. Okay, just want to point that out. And then NVIDIA, I don't know who took that short with me yesterday, but that thing seems to be a little bit green at the moment. It has started pushing lower, and Transpider reporting that NVIDIA insiders have unloaded $17 million in shares over the last 2 weeks, the largest outflows we've seen from them so far in 2025. So far, in terms of the short that we took yesterday on NVIDIA on BTCC, it started moving. Okay, so look, we're not in a position yet where I'd say, you know, you want to bring your stops to entry and things like that just yet. My trade remains the same. For me, a candle close above that 123 region is probably then a little bit too bullish, and then I'd say this trade is invalidated. So things we're going to watch now, you can see we did print our reversal. That was quite a hard reversal so far, and we have had a short-term bullish print now on the 4-hour. So you might see some kind of push up on NVIDIA before there is a little bit more downside. So for me, no changes to the exit plan. 123 close above that is probably bullish again. Then we're going to bail, but until then, I'm looking for 99, 97, those types of levels. And we are sitting on this one on BTCC. Now, don't forget, guys, we are hackers, and myself and my community are doing a BTC stock trading competition. So we're going to focus on things like Tesla. We're going to focus on things like NVIDIA, Microsoft. We're going to get you guys a couple of those trades. Then we've got trader Jay fired up. He's going to be scalping the NASDAQ for you guys as well on the Asia session. And you're going to find some US sessions as well. So we're going to have tons of activity here on BTCC. So make sure that you are signed up. If you want to participate in this with us, you can go into the show description, click under more. It's just at the bottom there. Click under more, and you're going to find the BTCC competition link there. So sign up and come and trade some of these stocks. You just send some crypto, and then you get stuck in. Okay, so it's not that complicated to get involved in that. Okay, let's talk the big deal. Now, Mia says, I'm loving the shorting. Now, isn't this beautiful? Mia is one of our hackers members. She's been there probably since the beginning, and she's becoming a bit of a shorting degen as well. We're spending a lot of time teaching the hackers traders how to short, because a lot of people don't know how to short, and these conditions that we've found ourselves in with the market are basically leaning to short every pump. So that is kind of what we've been teaching everybody to do. So if you like that type of thing, you want to learn a new skill, you know where to find us. Here's one of the hackers there. He's probably one of the best shorters I know, with a massive pair of balls. I mean, but that's for another day. Okay, that's for another discussion. And
Huge.
huge. Okay, let's talk BTC now. Why am I still bearish on BTC? So you could see the S&P had that bear flag looking quite bleak, and we inverted the chart. That wasn't looking good. If you look at BTC, you're seeing the same situation. We've got this rising bear flag here. Things aren't looking great. They're not looking bullish on the chart. So for me, my strategy remains the same. Any pumps in BTC, I do think are going to be sellable. So any moves in anything, even up to 95K, looks like a possibility here before we get some kind of rejection. I'm still expecting lower on BTC. I don't want to say where exactly, but for me, you can see these lows. It almost feels like there's unfinished business. And for me, 73 down to 70K is making the most sense as an area where we get our next big bounce. So that is the game plan there on BTC in terms of how I see that playing out. And then Easy Bitcoin really clutching at straws here, saying, come on, give us something bullish here. So let me know in the chats if you agree with this opinion or not. This is Easy Bitcoin. It says this must be the Wyckoff reaccumulation on BTC, and they've really stretched that spring there down to the downside, really getting creative. But again, this could be it. This could be correct. We don't want to say, we don't want to say it's not correct. I mean, but you know what they're showing you, yeah, this could potentially play out as well. So that could be the bottom according to this Wyckoff chart that they've given us. And then just to cover one more time on the daily now, I've shown you the weekly, I've shown you the 2-hour. Just to remind you, on the daily, you can see there's a monster trend in the way, and we've looked at this flag at the moment that is looking a bit bearish, and my view here is any pumps on BTC, if we get some hard moves in the next couple of days, for me, it's designed to trap longs in these types of areas and then come and wipe everybody back down to the downside. Now, that is obviously, that's the bear in me saying, that's probably the strategy there in terms of the market makers. But what I do also is I try and watch the liquidation heat map, and I keep track of this, and I try and follow where the liquidity is. And you can see at this point in time, there is quite a lot of liquidity to the upside here, pushing about 90K. Now, this is only the 1 week that I'm using. If you go further in time, you go 1 month, 2 months, you're going to find quite a lot more sitting higher up. But in terms of the weekly, up to even 90K looks like an easy target for market makers before they send it down. And if they do want to come down first, you can see there's a whole beautiful cluster here down to even 83K for us to the downside. So there's a lot of action here in this current chop that we have seen, and easy targets up and downside for these market makers. Okay, so just watch yourself both way. Don't fall in love with a move. Don't fall in love with a dump. Don't fall in love with a pump. You know these market makers are playing games with us at the moment. Okay, so a couple of things going down. We caught that bake short thanks to Rainier and chart hackers yesterday. I flipped long this morning. It looked like it was in a nice area. Still holding that BTC short. And I've got a 𝗬𝗰. I've actually got 2 𝗬𝗰 head shorts at the moment. So here's one of them on WeX at the moment. And we're going to take you through that 𝗬𝗰 chart. Remember, guys, I know I covered loads of competitions yesterday, but the WeX competition is also kicking off pretty soon. This thing is around the corner. So make sure you are signed up if you want to participate in my WeX team. I've got a team coming in hot for you guys. Just need you to sign up. You're going to participate in the team. Remember, a lot of the hackers are going to be in this team, and these hackers are fucking degens, I'm telling you. And these guys are logging, they're shorting, they're doing all sorts of things, and it might be quite a fun team to get involved with. Okay, so jump in on WeX. Again, the same thing. The link is in the show description there for you guys. Now, let's get into something interesting. Now, dominance has been pretty much, I'd say it's pretty boring of late, but at some point we're going to get quite a big move out of dominance. You can see this thing is brewing. Something is happening here, and something's got to give at some point. So I am expecting either a dump or a pump out of dominance. How do we react to that in terms of altcoin traders? Well, again, same game plan as yesterday. There's no changes on a slow moving chart like this. Any pumps from dominance, guys, look out over here at the 62%. That is probably where you're going to get a strong alt bounce. Okay, so if you see dominance pushing up and you see your altcoins dropping onto some of the levels that I gave you yesterday, dropping onto some of the levels that I'm giving you today, and then we get a dominance push into that 62% zone, that is potentially where you're going to get your alt bounce off those areas. So make sure that you are tied in, and make sure you are tying these levels together when you are hitting these types of zones. And the same applies if we have a mad alt pump, guys. Look out, 61.3%. That is where you take profit on your altcoins, and then a little bit lower down, 61% is where you take profit on your altcoins. Remember, when dominance bounces, that is generally where you want to be TPing on some of your alts or opening some hedge shorts, because then it might be rolling over. Okay, so trying to keep it super simple there. Let's talk about our favorite shitcoin. We'll keep this as short and sweet as possible. Do you have any history of mental illness in your family? Yes, I have a son who holds ETH. Who feels like this? Because I feel like this sometimes. I feel people are so disappointed in me that I own some ETH here. And look, we'll look at this very quickly. ETH 2124 rejection zone. Where am I long again on a leverage position? 1516. Keep it simple. That's the game plan. Until we reclaim 2124, we're not really having much more of a conversation other than looking at that as often as possible. Okay, just to remind me, why the hell am I playing with ETH? Okay, let's go. Solana, guys, is it time to long Sol? I think we are getting there. 133 to 131. That's all you need to know. Okay, leverage long on Sol coming in hot. 133 to 131. If we lose this region, if we lose this trend, we turn bearish. Okay, very simple game plan. What happens if you lose the trend? You probably have a strong bounce on a horizontal, so it gives you some kind of bounce long. Then you get euphoric, and what do? Bang, they come and end you. Okay, so look out for that. Sol 133, call it even 134 to 131. Look for that bounce. If you lose that trend, guys, cool, ride it up. Okay, you might get a bounce at say 125. Ride up that bounce, but don't get euphoric. Look for that rejection, 135, 136. Those levels there. That is probably where you're going to get some trouble. Okay, so just manage your risk accordingly. Look out for Sol. We're probably going to see on 4 hour a reversal here at some point. Okay, so let's see what they're going to give us, and that's going to guide us as to what is going to happen. Make money, travel, enjoy. Says she wants Sol at 80. I think we can get it. If Bitcoin drops to that 70K level, I think these alts are going to get decimated, and then I think we're going to be picking up Sol at the 80 region. Now we're going to have to play this step by step, because along the way, as degens and as leverage traders, we're going to get bounces to the upside. We're going to get shorts to the downside. But yes, I think 80 is possible if some of those things start working out in our favor. Okay, so there's a Sol setup, guys. Upside, what are you looking at? Remember the danger zone, 148 to 152. That's a big resistance zone for me. You can see I've got 618, I've got 50-day MA, all these types of things in that region to the upside. So just be careful up there. Don't get too euphoric. Chinkatron, how are you, sir? How is Puppy Dylan doing today? I'm good, bro. I'm on vacation still, but still looking at the charts and things like that, trying to have a holiday. But we are good. You can see my unicorn there in the back. Let me just show you again. It keeps me very entertained in the swimming pool. You see that thing? It's a beautiful unicorn.
Do we have any pictures of that? I'd like to see that.
I'll show you a picture of me in the unicorn. No problem, guys. No problem. I'll drop that on Twitter for you guys. I'll actually do that. Syed says, Dylan, so you want to trade Fartcoin or Jelly? Now, didn't Jelly cause the whole problem on Hyperliquid? So yeah, I think we'll probably look at Fartcoin, bro. Okay. So you guys are done. You got what you need. Okay, let's talk BONK. A little bit upset. This BONK front ran the zone. What does that tell me? That tells me we've got BONK front running an area. We've also got Sol front running an area. I'm inclined to lean towards them coming back to visit that zone at some point. Okay, so I don't want to get too excited and try and long bonk where maybe we shouldn't be. And especially with high conviction, maybe scalps and things like that. Yes, they can probably play out. But in terms of a higher conviction play for me on bonk, guys, 1.3 down to 1.25. Still makes sense to me. That is my area there. That region makes sense to me on bonk. So I think it just needs a little bit more time. You can see my oscillator on the 2 hour isn't printing any type of reversal just yet. This thing is still playing around. So I think there's time here. 1.3 to 1.25 on bonk. Let's see if that comes down. We should hit that. If Sol starts dropping there into that zone, 133, 132, I think we're going to get bonk down into that area. Now, there's something I wanted to talk about today. Injective. We haven't touched on this one in a while, and I thought let's take a look. There is a little bit of news with regards to Injective. This is off the Injective account. They're saying Google Cloud launched a validator and a new Web3 developer tools on Injective. The company powering Gmail and YouTube now powers the blockchain built for finance. So if you want to read about their little partnership and whatever's going on, I don't know if this is a massive deal, but it's interesting that stuff is going down. So I thought, let's look at Injective. Is this still playing the game? And in terms of my plan on the weekly chart, we've got no changes here on Injective. I've got an upside at 12.2 where I think we should look to sell that thing. And I do believe Injective comes down to this 5 level. You're probably going to find Sol at 80 when Injective is at 5. You're going to find Bitcoin at 70, those types of things if that happens. So that is my current game plan. Look for shorts, 12 to 12.4 on Injective, short zone, 16, even a big short zone. Any one of these zones could be the one that sends us down to that 5 level. So just look out for that. I'm not super bullish on this chart. This is the weekly, and you can see, any retest would make sense to us. So if these market makers want to come and pump these altcoins and retest trends, we can't get euphoric because we can easily get something along those lines playing out on these alts. Okay, so just promise me one thing, guys. Let's all agree, okay? If the market pumps at 10, 15, 20%, let's not get euphoric. Let's remember these weekly charts are actually quite bearish and we should be taking profits. Okay, so not too much euphoria, please. Slothman wants to print this weekend. Again, I'm not against the weekend print. It's lovely. Now, let's talk Injective on lower time frames. So this is looking interesting from a small bounce perspective. You can see on the weekly, we understand where our big zones are. What can we do on a lower time frame? So I've broken this thing down to the 1 hour, and there's a bearish case here, and there's a bullish case. So the bullish case on the short term is we've got a 1 hour reversal print on Injective. You can see what's going on here. We've just broken a little trend, so you can look at this guy. You can say, okay, cool. We do have a trend break on Injective. So anybody trading trend breaks and things like that, or bullish on trend breaks, what you can do is you can look at a stop at 10.32, and you can look at a stop option at say 10.2. That's a potential exit zone. So 10.32 and 10.2. And then your target for me would be this upside move to 11 as a starting point. And then if there is more bullishness, you can start looking a little bit higher. So let's just zoom out a little bit and start looking at where this thing can go. this guy over there. Okay, bang. So 11.4. Okay, so there is a possible trend break here. Broken trend, retest. Okay, you're looking to grind higher, maybe a rejection there, and then 11.4. So that looks like a possible short-term bounce trade on Injective. Okay, so that is the bull case at the moment. The bearish case that you can see, and it's got to get cured very quickly. Okay, you can see what's going on here. I've got a left shoulder, I've got the head, and we need to start clearing it 10.6 pretty quickly. So we need to get over this 10.6. If we do not clear the 10.6, you're probably going to find something like this starting to play out on Injective. Okay, so remember these trend breaks. That's why, a lot of these times you say it's a fake out and things like that. Well, what happens is they'll pump up and they'll reject at a horizontal, and then they just get sold basically to smithereens. Okay, so right shoulder potentially in play on Injective, 10.7. You've got to break above that area. Then you might have something working out for you there on Injective. Okay, so that's the bull case and the bear case. Remember, you've got this beautiful rising trend that's going to guide you along the way. So when we start losing that trend, that's normally a trigger, that things are turning a little bit more bearish, and maybe we need to start bailing out of things or just approaching it slightly differently, because you can see there's a nice zone there at about 9.4 where this thing should give you quite a hard bounce, but it's going to be a bearish bounce. So just like we've looked at a couple of tokens losing trends, what typically happens is when you lose that trend, okay, it's not all lost, you lose that trend, then you get a beautiful bounce, and we're going to trade that bounce to the upside, and then hopefully we will catch that short to the downside as well. Okay, so that's the game plan there. And Mia is all over Panda, okay? And Panda did catch a nice short today. He did. And we've got such a good team in there. Fuck, I'm so proud of these guys. Okay, let's go. Let's actually talk to Dave. Dave, sorry, bro. He's sitting here so patiently, and I pulled him in on a Thursday. And I know, he does his hair on Thursdays. Normally, half the day he does his hair. So... Good to have you here, sir. Do you have something fun for us? Give us something fun.
Yeah, I actually just entered this trade not too long ago, and I'm pretty much at entry, so I'd like to share it with y'all.
Cool.
Let's see my screen.
Here it is.
Awesome. So credit to James for giving me the alpha on Move. So I had somebody ask me to TA this on the Tuesday session. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Apparently, there was a whale that, or the Move community or the owners, whatever, they bought back a bunch of Move. And that was the reason for this huge pump here, 50% pump. But what I'm seeing here is kind of like deja vu. So I gave a ZETA setup on the Sunday banger session here, and what I did is I drew a fib from the low to the high. We had a 50-day MA. We had a 618 here, and this trade ran off pretty nicely here. So now Move is looking like the same exact thing. I've got a fit from the low to the high. I've got a 618. I've got a 50-day MA. But what's interesting is I have a point of control as well, right? So we have a point of control 50-day. I've also got an anchored VWAP drop from the all-time low, and we are literally sitting right on that as well. So there's more confluence with this potential setup here. So I've entered the trade, nice little 8x leverage. I'm ready to scale it down to 7 or 6 in case we do get some kind of pullback with Bitcoin and we kind of do some kind of deviation. But even if we do some kind of deviation below the anchored VWAP and the 50 and the point of control, I'm expecting Move to kind of hold itself here. And I'm looking for it to simply have a 618 retest, meaning I've taken a fib from the absolute wick high that happened on Tuesday to the absolute current low. And that would take us right to about 59 cents. And so with this entry here, we're looking at a nice little 20% move. If we do bang against the 786 or anchored VWAP, right? So we saw that there was a serious anchored VWAP rejection. If we can make another visit up there again, this could be a potential 30% move. And then if there's absolute, bullish things behind this and fundamentals, you can see I have 2 other anchored VWAPs above us, right? These are dropped from the highs. Actually, this wick high here from the open on the 9th of December. I have another anchored VWAP on Wednesday, the 25th of December. And so if we can break out of this triangle formation, anything is possible. We saw what happened with Mavia, right? If we come up banging against this anchored VWAP here, this would give us a kind of midterm 618 or hacker zone, right? So I've essentially taken a fib from this last lower high before the big dump, which is typically where I like to do my pulls. And we have another area here of interest, which is the 70-cent region, which would give us about a 70% move. And that makes a lot of sense, right? So this is a long that I'm building. I believe there's some good support below us. And, let's take a 786 real quick and just see, there's a 786 fib here right around 46 cents. So whether you want to take the laddering approach, 7% drawdown, low leverage, kind of multiple position, kind of stagger your way here and catch the big move.
So I'm going to do that. So what is I'm entering a portion now on 8x. And what is my next order going to be?
I think a realistic area would be the 786. We might even get a kiss onto that in case Bitcoin opens up with a little bit of selling pressure from Asia. Anything's possible. But 46.21 is where I'm looking to, and you know me, I'm going to ladder into this guy if I have to. But even if we do have some kind of pullback down to the value area low, that's about a 10% dip. So if you want to be a degen and do 10x with an order at liquidation and just have a strategy, right, guys? Like always have a strategy in case the trade goes south or doesn't go the way we want it to. And so for my strategy is if we do get some kind of drawdown, I'm going to just essentially knife into this guy. But I am expecting this 618 retrace. And we're seeing that quite a bit with a lot of these tokens, like we saw with Mavia, we saw with ZETA, Rare, like a lot of these big candles that come out of nowhere, right? You have some kind of crazy dump, but then that 618 retrace, right? So that seems to be working well for us right now at the moment.
Nice, bro. So I've got an order. I've bought some now at 4936. I've got another order at 4621. And we'll see how the market goes over the next couple of days. We might bang in another order around 44, give or take. We'll try and build something here. Remember, guys, there's multiple strategies that you can employ when you are trading. Some guys obviously like, a very tight stop. Some guys want to trade for an hour and get the trade done. David, for example, is a swing trader. So what he likes to do is identify a potential area where there's going to be a move. He sits very patiently. He'll buy multiple times on the way down. Sometimes he sits in a red trade for a couple of days before anything happens, and then all of a sudden that move kicks in and then you get the big move. So it's all about patience. It's all about managing your risk and managing your position size and your leverage. Okay, so there's many ways you can do it. Okay, this is just one of the ways, and if you want to learn about it, he's in Hackers doing his Zoom sessions once a week, twice a week actually with me on a Sunday, and there's lots of stuff going on in his channel. Okay, so what else you got going on there, bro?
I mean, I can give you guys a short or another long I'm looking at. I mean, it's up to you.
Give us a short setup, and then I've got a lot of content still for you guys. So give us a short there. Let's see what you got in terms of that.
Okay, so we'll move it right into ZETA. Okay, and I think these shorts, based on the suppression that these altcoins have been receiving, I think shorts kind of a little bit cautious. I think longs are a little bit safer, right? So that's why I really like Move, because it's kind of consolidating. It's not really having that much action at the moment, right? But ZETA, the way the clock resets and the percentages resets, it's like on a different time frame, because literally an hour ago it said it was up 20%. Now it's up 1.5%. So essentially, if you take a look at ZETA on the 4 hour, right, just in the last 24 hours, we have had a nice little 15% pump, or actually 20% pump, because from that wick low to the high, it was actually 27% move. So this morning, I was just trying to identify some kind of trend here, looking to catch the short if there is some kind of pullback. And I'm not thinking it's going to be like some crazy swing short, but short down to the point of control would be cool. So what I've done here is I've taken a fib from the wick high that was on Saturday the 22nd to the absolute low, right? And right here where the 50 and the 60-day MA. And you can see that it went right through the hacker zone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those fibs. 786, it kind of wicked above the 786, and now it's kind of below the 786, right? So we'll see that a lot, right? This is typically like a stop hunt or a liquidation candle to take out everyone that was, kind of building shorts here, kind of take them out here. But now I'm looking to see if this trend line is respected, right? So I have we have three touches confirmed now from this point, right? So I've got it drawn from the 18th of January. We had our second touch right here on what was the Saturday, and then today, right? So another touch here, right? So typically when you see this, kind of like what you were showing earlier with inverting the scale, right? If we were looking at this as a long setup, all day, every day, right? Trend, respect the trend. Invalidation would simply be if we lose the trend, back test it, you know, that would be kind of the invalidation here. So I think it's a fair invalidation point. And, you know, let's take a look at the entry level, right? So, you know, from where we are now to the trend, there's about a 7% gap here. And I think that's kind of the entry zone, right? So from the 786 to this trend here, we can just call that the entry.
Okay, right, I'm starting a small low leverage position here, and we're going to have one more entry higher up for the next pump. So what's that? The high of your entry box there? What's the top there?
43.41.
Okay, all right, 4341. Okay,
and you guys can already see that we have some overbought prints on the chart prime oscillator. Last time we had overbought prints on the oscillator, we finally had that OB confirmation. So that's what I'm looking for. We want to see an orange box here that prints the OB, and that's where I'm going to be probably adding more to my size, raising my leverage a little bit, and to maximize on that move to the downside. So if we take a fib from that 50-day MA and we take it to the top, 786 would take us right to the value area high here on this fixed range pull and point of control. That would be kind of like an amazing move, but you know, I think 618 is realistic, right? So if we take our fib and add the hacker zone on here, you know, I think that would be kind of like where I would be super happy with this pullback. And we can probably start tracking some kind of rising trend like this and tracking this kind of triangle formation, right? So it'd be cool to see something like this and then have that pullback maybe onto the trend. And then, hey, maybe it'll have another move up here. We don't know, right? But as far as in the short term, next 1 to 2 days, 3 days, you know, it could take some time to play out. Like I gave that cake setup on Friday. We had to wait 6 days, guys. Sometimes it happens fast. Sometimes it takes 6 days. But again, there's a saying, patience pays, right? So don't get impatient. Watch the trade, monitor the trade, be very methodical, have a strategy. But this is the strategy that I'm looking to take here. All right.
Okay. Lovely, bro. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you. So I've cracked on with 2 of those. Let me show you guys. I've opened them on WeX here. Okay. So I've started 2 positions, and now we've got orders higher up. So you can see there's the ZETA. The first order is in at 404. I've got another order waiting at 4341, and we're running this on super low leverage. We're looking to build a position. So same with Move. I've started a position on Move. We've got another order lower down in case there's a drop on Move. Okay. So that is the game plan. If you want to trade swing trades, that's how you go about it. If you want to find out more, well, we're in Chart Hackers doing those things. I see Panda says send it to hell. He's a passionate shorter, that man. He loves sending shit to hell. Okay, let's talk. I've got 𝗬𝗎, guys. Now, talking about sending things to hell, are we premature on 𝗬𝗎? Because look at this oscillator here. This oscillator is freaking me out. Look at that reversal. We've got our blue dot, and it's a 4-hour reversal. Okay, so 𝗬𝗎's dangerous for me here. At the 50-day MA, 618 horizontals, we're getting reversals on the oscillator. What I've done is highlight 2 short zones for you guys. This is at 278 where we are now, 280, and then a little bit higher up at around 3 to 3.05. These are the zones of interest to me. Now, the reason they are interesting is we're getting these reversal prints on these oscillators. Now, again, this doesn't work every single time, but when you get a double divergence print and a blue dot, whether you're long or you're short, when you see those types of things, you start paying attention. And then you start watching, and your risk reward starts decreasing a little bit as you go. So if you take a sample of 10 tokens that show this type of reversal, I'm telling you 7 or 8 out of 10, they're going to fall over. You might have another pump of 5 or 6%, and then you're going to have this nice dump, 10-15% moves to the downside. So always pay attention when you see these reversals on the oscillator. And for me, these are the 2 zones. So I'm watching those closely, and I've started my hedge play on 𝗬𝗎. So you can see here's my long from yesterday. I added a bit on that dip. So that long is now $21,000 in size. I've got my hedge short in play at the moment. I'll cut above that high. If we push 3.05, then I'll look to go again. Then you can see on 𝗬𝗏, that 𝗬𝗏 is cooking now. It's $47,000 in size. It's now starting to push. I've just opened a hedge short on 𝗬𝗏. I'm going to show you that chart in a sec. And that is just a $10,000 hedge short play in case it falls over. ETH still holding the short. I've closed my Peppy short. I'm now long Peppy. You can see here $15,000 long on Peppy. I've taken an IMX scalp long as well, and I've got Brett a little bit in front of my zone, and it was a zone I gave you guys yesterday. Let's see if this is going to play out for us. So let's start with 𝗬𝗎. So we've covered 𝗬𝗎. You've got that. Okay, you understand my thought process. Then before we get into these trades, I just wanted to talk bullish 𝗬𝗎, guys. Remember, I know Dave loves a CETAS trade, but if you bullish 𝗬𝗎, you look at something called CETAS. This is their DEX on 𝗬𝗎, and I thought let's take a look. You can see CETAS is looking very similar to the 𝗬𝗎 situation. We are pushing into a resistance area, and we at a point where this thing can either now come and reject quite hard, or we can pop through and try and get our next potential trade. So there's possibly a 23% coming on CETAS. Now, how can this play out? Well, number one, Bitcoin needs to behave. I'd say hold this 85, 86 level, and it's got to chill. That dominance needs to start falling over. We're going to see 𝗬𝗎 then pop to the next region, and then you're probably going to see CETAS come alive again and start getting a little bit aggressive. So this obviously needs to come into play, but you can see what's going on here. We've got a squeezy type situation moving up. We are pushing into a big horizontal. So I'm looking for some kind of move on CETAS, and it's quite an easy situation. We can see the rising trend. If we start losing that trend, well, that's going to give us an exit plan. So potential 23% trade. How do we do that? Well, here's the DGen move on CETAS that I'm looking at. This is CETAS on the 2 hour. So what I've done is broken this thing down to a little bit of a more understandable time frame for you guys. You can see the oscillators are turning over from the upside. So it's telling us, we might have to just dip a little bit. But in terms of areas I want to watch, if we get a medium-sized dip on BTC, you're probably going to see something along these lines for CETAS, and that could be the area that sparks your long. So 118, look around there, down to about 116, and that would be the super bullish move for me. So 118 to 116, that would be absolutely ideal if we can get that move on CETAS. If you're jumping into CETAS now, you just need to know your degree of risk and what is below you. So if you jump in now, your risk is 11%. So you decide, is that worth the risk reward? What if it doesn't hold that level? What if it falls over? So that is why I'm not entering CETAS yet. What I want to see, 11.8 to 11.6, that makes sense to me. Let's bang out an alarm here, and we'll look for that bounce. You can see the 50-day moving average is there as well.
Yeah. That 50-day is a banger, man. I would love to grab that retest.
So yeah, it makes sense to me, and that would mean a little dip on 𝗬𝗎, a little dip on CETAS, maybe a dip on BTC, and then a nice pump for us. So CETAS, we know in the past has been an outperformer of 𝗬𝗎. We know 𝗬𝗎 can pump, but CETAS can pump her. Okay, so that could be something. Yeah, that could be something fun. Okay, so watch that one, guys. That just get it on your radar. Let's talk 𝗬𝗨. Now, this was an absolute banger. I dropped this one on Twitter 2 days ago because I didn't do it on the show, and I gave you guys this region, the 618 trend horizontal 256 for me. We had the divergence. There were multiple reasons why this tower was going to fall over. So make sure you follow me on Twitter at @𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝐿ord_of_entry. Follow me, because occasionally I'm dropping these types of nuggets for you guys as well. And what did 𝗬𝗨 do? Look at this absolute banger into the 256 zone horizontal trend. We've even got VWAP action there. It was a dream situation. Look at the divergence, eventually printed double divergence, fell over, and now we've got a banger into that zone. So added a little bit on that 𝗬𝗨 trade. I hope some of you guys did get a little bit of that 𝗬𝗨 action. And now what do we do? There's a lot going on to the upside. So this is effectively TP zone number one, and that is why I banged out that head short, because we are effectively saying with a head short, we're taking something off the table. So we can either take 20% off the trade there, or we can open a 20% head short, for example. And I just went with that for this example on 𝗬𝗨. So this is zone number one, 274. That's resistance. That's a danger zone. Where's zone number two? Zone number two is 284. Okay, zone number three is 292. These are the zones. Okay, so these are the exit plays here for me on 𝗬𝗨. And then this is where it gets quite interesting, because if there is a push now on the market, we're going to have new support to play with. So what if 𝗬𝗨 does that? Okay, I'll be fully out up there. But what if it does this? Okay, that could be something really fun for us to look forward to. So look out for this one on 𝗬𝗨. We did the work. 256 gave us our entry. Let's see how this plays out. 274, 284, 292. I'm fully out of this thing, but I would expect 274 then to be support for us for our next move to the upside. Okay, so if that plays out, 𝗏𝗍, nice, bro. Okay, congrats on that one. I hope you are printing. Let's go 𝗏𝗶𝗶. This was another banger from yesterday. So more whales accumulating 𝗏𝗶𝗶, according to Spot on Chain, $4.3 million worth. Look, is that a lot in the grand scheme of crypto? I don't know, but it's enough to get attention. And those of you yesterday, you saw we were in that 𝗏𝗶𝗶 short. We dropped into our first zone. So anybody got that first dip? Look at that 50-day MA coming into play, the 236 fib, all those types of things. So that for me was a scalp bounce play. We may not print a new high on 𝗏𝗶𝗶, and we might actually just roll over. So don't be surprised if you see something off a 236 that looks like this, where you pump up into that area, lower high, and then they come and bring you down. So don't get married to this. Okay, for me, this is a short-term scalp play on 𝗏𝗶𝗶. There it is. Okay, let's see. Don't get married to this position. Okay, play it for what it is, and let's see if we can make a few dollars here. Just look out at this 89.7, 80.90 zone. That's your resistance. Okay, so just be careful up there. And then in terms of your next big pumper, 77 for me. Now, why is 77 interesting? Look at that. Okay, divergence on the 4-hour, that is telling us we might want to come down longer term. Now, remember, we can trade these bounces, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour. We can track the 4-hour, the 8-hour, the 12-hour for those bigger moves. And the 4-hour normally gives us a nice guide. Okay, so that 4-hour is still looking to come down, and that tells me that if we get a short-term bounce, well, we're probably going to end up at the 77. And wouldn't that be interesting? You can see on Tower yesterday, same story. We started getting divergence. Look what happened here. They gave us divergence, then they gave us a pump, and then they came and sent that one a little bit lower. So there are various scenarios, but when the signs are there, that maybe we need to start being cautious. Just listen to what they have to say. Yumi, I'm glad you got some 𝗏𝗶𝗶 there. Then let's talk S. So this thing is also absolutely grilling me. Bro, look at this oscillator. Why is this thing not dying? Can't they send this thing back to hell? So I'm waiting super patiently on this S, guys, and it's very frustrating. And maybe it's going to do to me what 𝗏 just did to me. I had to cut my 𝗏 short position. I sat in that thing forever, and now it's just pumped too hard. So here is S, looking bearish. You can see I've got my VWAP reversals. I got my blue dot. I got my divergences. Everything is screaming that S must come down. You can see I've even got a head and shoulders in play here at the moment. So this short still makes sense to me. What is the target? No real changes to yesterday. Still looking at something along these lines, down to say 55, 56. That makes sense to me. Okay, so want to see this play out. One of the mistakes I made on 𝗏 was we got our divergence play, and then we got down to that area, and now it's actually pumped on a reversal. So if Sonic does drop into that 56, 57, I'm going to be out the minute this oscillator hits that bottom there. I'm not going to stick around. I actually sat in that 𝗏 for too long. Okay, so in terms of S, no changes to the support, no changes to the trade from yesterday. There's no new trades now. That thing is looking bearish, and I'm going to wait for that to play out. So it's going to be what it is. If it does pump a little harder, guys, what you want to watch is that 76, 77 region. So that is going to be the next big zone that I would be paying attention to. You can see the hackers, guys. I have given you a couple of zones of interest, 71, 77. Those make the most sense to me for upside pumps here on this S. Okay, so that is the game plan there. Guys, that's 52 minutes, okay, cooking. I'm on holiday tomorrow, okay? I'm going on a boat. I'm going to tan. I'm going to snorkel. I'm going to do holiday things. I might even use that thing there. I'll send you a picture. Boats and unicorns, bro. So that is what I'm going to be doing. JR, bro, I had to cut that 𝗏, bro. That 𝗏, I sat in that thing, I don't know, 10 days, bro. And eventually, it's now pumped again. So I'm out of that. Davey, thank you, bro. Thanks for hanging. Long and a short, 2 trades in action. Okay, thank you, sir. That's always handy. And Zen says, have so much fun with my unicorn tube. I'm going long unicorns tomorrow, guys. I'm going hard. Okay, so I'm back. Monday, you're going to see me again. Okay, so taking a couple of days off. Then Monday, you guys will see me. Dave, thanks for hanging. He's got my back on Sunday. He'll be doing the Sunday banger. And I'm sure he'll rope in 1 or 2 of the hackers players as well. And you will see him there. Thank you, sir.
Yep, no problem. We'll see you guys.
See you later, bro. Loving his hair. Okay. Cool, guys. I'm out of here. I'm glad I could do this for you, and quite cool. The market ripped while I was on vacation. Glad I brought my gear. I can sort you out. Okay. We'll see you next week. Be safe. Catch you later.